The creature that had expected to watch Jake die was now looking at him with what could only be shock. Around them, dozens of other beasts had appeared from behind the crystal towers. They all stared at the human who should have been dead. "Doctor." Kevin Bradley held his scanner with shaking hands. The readings were like nothing he had ever seen. "Jake, the numbers on this thing are crazy. Whatever that creature put in your blood is very complex. It has proteins that do not exist anywhere else. It has nerve poison that should have shut down your brain in 2 minutes." Jake looked at the bite marks on his arm. The 2 small holes were already closing up. His human body was healing faster than normal. Red blood had stopped flowing. The skin around the bite was not even swollen. "I feel fine," Jake said. "Actually, I feel really good." This was true. Jake felt better than he had in years. His eyes could see farther. His ears could hear better. Even his sense of smell was stronger. He could smell the metal in the air and something else. Something that smelled like fear coming from the creatures around them. The biggest beast began to walk back and forth. Its movements were jerky and upset. It made grinding sounds that seemed to mean it was angry and confused at the same time. "It is trying to figure out why you are still alive," said Pete Johnson. He was good at reading the body language of different species. "Look at how it holds its head. It is confused and maybe even worried." Lisa Grant kept her weapon pointed at the nearest creature. "Worried or not, we should get back to the shuttle. We have no idea what else might show up." But Jake was watching the creatures with growing fascination. The bite had done more than just fail to kill him. He could feel something changing inside his body. His heart was beating stronger. His muscles felt more powerful. The alien poison was not trying to harm him. Instead, it seemed to be making his already tough human body even tougher. The biggest beast made its choice. It lifted its massive head and let out a roar that made the crystal towers shake. The sound bounced off the rocks and filled the whole valley. Immediately, answers came from everywhere. More roars echoed from all directions. All around the valley, shapes began moving between the crystals. Big shapes. Lots of them. "We have company," Lisa announced as creature after creature appeared. They were all similar to the first one, but showed small differences in size and the colors on their plates. The creatures formed a loose circle around the 4 humans. But their attention was completely focused on Jake. They seemed to be talking to each other in their grinding, hissing language. The tone of their sound suggested they were having a heated argument. Kevin's scanner continued its frantic beeping. "Jake, your body is dealing with that poison in ways that should not be possible. It is like your cells are taking it apart and learning from it. Your immune system is not just fighting it off, it is using it." Jake felt a surge of energy flow through his whole body. Without thinking about it, he took a step forward. He walked directly toward the largest of the assembled beasts. His team shouted warnings, but he raised his hand to tell them to stay quiet. All the creatures fell silent as Jake approached their apparent leader. Standing at the base of the massive predator, he looked up into its compound eyes. The creature was so tall that Jake had to bend his neck back to see its face. Then Jake did something that no being on this planet had ever done after being bitten by one of these creatures. He smiled a big, friendly smile. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. All the creatures began to step backward. Their aggressive poses changed to something that looked like respect mixed with fear. Some of the smaller ones actually lay down on the ground. "I think," Jake said quietly to his team, "we need to have a much longer conversation with our new friends." The standoff continued for hours. The creatures kept their circle, but their behavior had completely changed. They were no longer acting like predators ready to attack. Now they seemed curious and respectful, maybe even a little afraid. Kevin worked frantically with his equipment. He took sample after sample of Jake's blood. Each test showed the same impossible results. "Jake, this is incredible." The poison contains what looks like tiny machines made of biological material. They are designed to change how cells work. But instead of killing you, your human adaptability is taking them and making them part of you. Jake could feel the changes. Getting stronger, his senses had become incredibly sharp. His strength had noticeably increased. More importantly, he was beginning to understand what the creatures were saying to each other. Their grinding, hissing language was starting to make sense. It was as if the poison was giving him a way to translate their words. The largest beast, which Jake had started thinking of as the leader, stepped forward. It began a complex series of sounds. To the amazement of his team, Jake responded in the same grinding language. His human voice somehow managed to copy the alien sounds. "What are you saying to it?" Lisa asked. Her weapon was still ready, but she had lowered it slightly. "Not it," Jake corrected her. "Him. His name means something. Like First Hunter. He is asking how I survived what he calls the sacred bite." The conversation that followed would change everything humans thought they knew about intelligence and survival. Through careful translation, Jake learned that these creatures were not just predators. They were the most successful species on a planet where everything was based on biological adaptation and survival of the strongest. First, Hunter explained that the sacred bite was their ultimate test. The poison was so powerful and complex that it never failed to kill anything. Every creature on their world, from the smallest bug to the biggest predator, died within minutes of being bitten. It was their proof that they were the absolute rulers of this planet. Until today. "He says we are the first beings to come from beyond their world," Jake translated for his team. "They want to understand how human biology could possibly survive their ultimate weapon." Kevin was practically jumping up and down with excitement. "Jake, do you see what this means? Human adaptability is not just impressive compared to Earth animals. It is literally something that has never existed in their experience. We just met a species that has never encountered anything it could not kill. And you laughed at their best attack. The implications were huge." First Hunter continued his explanation. Their species had ruled this world for millions of years. Their poison had evolved to counter every possible biological defense. They had tested it on every form of life they encountered. Nothing had ever survived. Not once. He says they have long believed that someday others would come from the stars. Jake translated. They prepared the sacred bite as the ultimate test. They expected to prove they were superior to any species that could travel between worlds. Instead, they had discovered something that challenged everything they thought they knew about biology and survival. Pete Johnson was monitoring communications with their ship. Suddenly he went rigid. "Commander, I am picking up signals from orbit. Multiple ships, not human design. They are big." The news hit them like a punch to the stomach. First Hunter's grinding response confirmed their worst fears. Jake translated with a sinking feeling in his chest. The Venom beasts have not been alone in expecting visitors from the stars. First Hunter explained that his people had been watching the skies for generations. They knew that other species traveled between worlds. They had been preparing for contact. But they were not the only ones who had been preparing. "There are others who hunt among the stars," Jake translated. "Others who take what they want from worlds like this." First Hunter says his people have been getting ready to defend their world for a very long time. The ships that were descending through the planet's thick atmosphere were not friendly visitors. They belonged to something that First Hunter called the Collectors. They traveled from world to world, taking the strongest and most useful life forms they could find. They had detected the unique poison of the Venom beasts from very far away. They had come to claim it for themselves. Even worse, they had also detected the human ship. They were curious about what biological advantages a species capable of traveling between stars might have. Jake looked at First Hunter, then at his own team. The massive creature was no longer acting like a predator studying prey. Now it seemed like it was asking for help. The grinding sounds first hunter made needed no translation. Jake could hear the meaning clearly now. The creature was saying that the real test was about to begin. Out above them, alien ships were landing. And whatever was inside them had been collecting the strongest creatures from worlds across the galaxy. Now they wanted to add humans and venom beasts to their collection. Jake felt the enhanced strength flowing through his body. The poison that should have killed him had instead made him stronger and given him the ability to communicate with the most dangerous predators on this planet. He had a feeling he was going to need both advantages very soon. Well, Jake said too. His team as the first alien ship touched down in the Crystal Valley. I guess we are about to find out just how adaptable humans really are. The ships that came down through the orange sky were unlike anything humans had ever built. They were smooth and curved like living things. Their surfaces seemed to pulse with patterns of light that moved like blood through veins. When they landed, they did not crash or bounce. They touched the ground as gently as falling leaves. First, Hunter's reaction to their arrival told Jake everything he needed to know. The massive creature moved closer to Jake and his team. It was not threatening them anymore. It was trying to protect them. Around the valley, all the other venom beasts took defensive positions behind the crystal towers. Jake, Dr. Kevin, Bradley said with urgency in his voice, your readings just jumped again. Whatever is in those ships, your body is reacting to them before you even see them. The beings that came out of the ships were tall and graceful. They looked somewhat like humans, but their skin was clear like glass. Jake could see complex patterns moving under their skin like glowing rivers. They moved with perfect precision. And they wore no protective suits, even though the air on this planet was thick and heavy. Jake found he could understand their language too. The words came to him clearly, even though they were much more complex than the grinding sounds the venom beasts made. The poison in his blood was still changing him and giving him new abilities. Greetings, apex predators of this world, the lead figure spoke. Its voice had strange harmonics that suggested it could control sound in ways humans could not. We are the biological collective. We have come to claim this planet's genetic resources. First Hunter's response was a roar that shook every crystal tower in the valley. The sound was so loud that loose rocks fell from the formations around them. Jake translated for his team, even though the meaning was clear from the creature's body language. He is telling them this world belongs to his people. He says they must face the sacred bite to prove they are worthy to be here. The collective leader made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was cold and had no humor in it. We are aware of your primitive ritual. We have observed your species for some time. Your poison is indeed impressive by local standards, but we have adapted to toxins from 1,000 worlds. What happened next made Jake's blood run cold. One of the collective members stepped forward calmly. It showed no fear at all as First Hunter approached. The massive venom beast delivered the sacred bite with perfect precision. Its fangs sank deep into the alien's arm and injected the full dose of poison that had never failed to kill. The poison that had enhanced Jake's human body, instead of destroying it, was neutralized within seconds by the alien's advanced biological modifications. The collective member simply looked at the bite marks as if they were nothing more than mosquito bites. But unlike the respectful shock the venom beasts had shown when Jake survived their ultimate weapon, the collective member simply brushed off the bite marks with obvious contempt. Your test is meaningless to beings of true biological sophistication, the leader announced in a voice full of arrogance. We will harvest your genetic material and add it to our collection. Your species will serve a greater purpose as part of our biological arsenal. Jake stepped forward. He could feel the enhanced strength and awareness the venom had given him flowing through his body like electricity. That is not going to happen. The collective leader focused on him for the first time. Its clear eyes studied Jake with the same Cold interest a scientist might show when looking at a bug under a microscope. Ah, the primitive species that arrived first. You will make interesting subjects for biological experimentation. Actually, Jake said with a grin that would have made any human who knew him very nervous, I think you will find we are full of surprises. The conversation that followed revealed the true scope of what they were facing. The collective had been moving through this part of space for thousands of years. They harvested unique biological traits from every world they encountered. They had detected the Venom beast's unique toxins from incredible distances and had come specifically to claim them. More disturbing, they had also detected the human ship and were very curious about what biological advantages a species capable of traveling between stars might possess. The collective leader continued speaking as if Jake and his team were already captured specimens. Your species shows interesting adaptation capabilities. We detected the biological changes in you from orbit. Most impressive. We will study how your primitive biology managed to process Venom beast toxins. Kevin was working frantically with his scanner. Jake, they are not just advanced. They are artificially enhanced. Their biology has been modified so many times that they are barely organic anymore. They are like living machines. Lisa kept her weapon ready, but Jake could see the doubt in her eyes. These beings had shrugged off the most deadly poison on the planet like it was water. What could human weapons do against them? But Jake was studying the collective members with his enhanced senses. The venom had not just made him stronger and given him the ability to understand alien languages. It had also sharpened his ability to read biological systems. And what he was reading made him smile. Pete, Jake said quietly, can you establish a secure channel to the ship? Already working on it, Pete replied. His hands moved quickly over his communication equipment. But these aliens are jamming most frequencies. First Hunter moved closer to Jake. The massive creature made soft grinding sounds that Jake now understood. Were questions. The Venom Beast leader wanted to know if the humans had a plan to fight these invaders. Jake looked at the collective forces. There were about 20 of them spread across the valley. They moved with the confidence of beings who had never met serious resistance. Their clear skin showed complex biological systems that pulsed with unnatural rhythms. First Hunter wants to know if we can fight them, Jake translated for his team. His people have never faced anything like this before. The collective leader overheard and made that cold laughing sound again. Fight us? Your alliance with these local predators is amusing but pointless. We have harvested the biological advantages of species from across the galaxy. We are beyond your primitive understanding of warfare. Maybe, Jake said. But you made one big mistake. And what mistake is that, primitive human? Jake felt the venom-enhanced strength surging through his muscles. His vision was so sharp he could see the individual biological components moving under the alien skin. His hearing was so good he could detect the subtle changes in their breathing. That indicated stress. You assumed that surviving your biological weapons meant we were like you, Jake said. Controlled. Predictable. Following rules. The collective leader tilted its head in what might have been confusion. Jake continued, his grin getting wider. The thing about humans is that we do not follow biological rules. We break them. We adapt in ways that should not be possible. And we make friends with things that should kill us. As if to prove his point, First Hunter let out another roar. This time it was answered not just by the venom beasts in the valley, but by calls from far across the planet. The sound rolled across the landscape like thunder. Kevin's scanner was going crazy. Jake, I am reading massive biological activity across the entire continent. It is like the whole planet just woke up. The collective leader looked around the valley with the first sign of uncertainty Jake had seen from any of them. This is impossible. We scanned this world thoroughly. The venom beasts were the only significant predator species. First Hunter. made a series of complex grinding sounds. Jake translated with obvious satisfaction. He says you scanned for individual predator species. You did not scan for a planet-wide biological network. The venom beasts are not just the top predators here. They are the coordinators of the entire ecosystem. The implications hit the collective like a physical blow. They had come to harvest one species of impressive predators. Instead, they had awakened an entire world of interconnected biological weapons. Furthermore, Jake continued, you made another mistake. You thought human biology was primitive and easy to understand. But the venom that should have killed me did not just fail. It enhanced every aspect of human adaptability. And now I can coordinate with First Hunter's people in ways you cannot imagine. The collective leader's clear skin began to show patterns of stress. This changes nothing. We still have superior numbers and technology. Jake looked at his team, then at First Hunter, then at the dozens of venom beasts taking positions around the valley. Finally, he looked up at the sky where more alien calls were echoing from the distance. You know what the funny thing is? Jake said to the collective leader. You came here expecting to face individual species fighting for their own survival. Instead, you are about to face something that has never existed before in your experience. And what is that? Jake's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of approaching footsteps. Lots of them, from every direction. His enhanced vision could see movement in the crystal formations all around the valley. The venom beasts had not been calling for help. They had been calling for backup. An alliance between human unpredictability and apex predator efficiency, Jake said. Coordinated by biological enhancement you created, but do not understand. For the first time since landing, the collective leader looked genuinely concerned. Its perfect biological systems were registering. The spaceship moved slowly through the thick orange air of planet Kepler 442c. Commander Jake Morrison stood by the big window on the bridge. He watched the red ground below them. It looked like a sea of rust and rocks. Jake had been in space. For 12 years, he had seen many strange worlds. But this one felt different. Something about the way the air moved around their ship made him feel uneasy. Sir, I am getting big readings from down there, said Lieutenant Amy Collins. She was looking at her computer screen. Whatever lives on this planet is very big, and there are lots of them. Amy was young but very smart. She had joined their crew just 6 months ago. Her job was to watch for life signs on new planets. The planet had been marked as safe for humans to visit. But the first scans showed something much more interesting than tiny living things. Big creatures walked around on the surface. When they moved, the ground shook so hard that the ship could feel it from high above. Dr. Kevin Bradley was very excited. He studied alien life forms for a living. Commander, we have to go down there. These readings show life forms we have never seen before. Kevin had gray hair and thick glasses. He had spent 20 years looking for new life in space. This was the biggest discovery of his career. Jake thought about it. The rules said they should stay in orbit and just take pictures. But the readings were too interesting to ignore. Okay. We go down, but we take weapons and stay together. The landing team had 4 people. Jake would lead. Kevin would study the creatures. Security Chief Lisa Grant would keep them safe. Communications Officer Pete Johnson would talk to the ship. If they needed help, Lisa was tough. She had been a soldier before joining the space program. She carried a big weapon and knew how to use it. Pete was quiet but very good at his job. He could fix any radio or computer. They took a small shuttle down to the planet. The landing was rough. The thick air made the shuttle shake and bounce. When they finally touched down, they were in a valley between tall crystal rocks. Jake opened the shuttle door. The air outside was breathable but felt heavy. It smelled like metal and something else he could not name. The ground was red dirt mixed with small rocks. Strange crystal towers rose up all around them like giant fingers. "Temperature is good," said Pete, checking his instruments. "Air is safe to breathe, but I am getting some strange readings." Kevin was already taking samples of the dirt and air. His face was bright with excitement. "The biological activity here is incredible. There are chemical traces I have never seen before." Lisa kept her weapon ready. She moved her eyes slowly across the crystal formations. "Something is watching us. I can feel it." Jake felt it too. The air seemed to buzz with danger. Every shadow between the crystals could hide something big and hungry. They had landed in the middle of a hunting ground. They walked slowly away from the shuttle. Kevin stopped every few steps to take more samples. His scanner made quiet beeping sounds as it found new things to study. The crystals around them were not just rocks. They seemed to glow with a soft inner light. "These formations are not natural," Kevin said. "They have been shaped by something. Maybe the creatures used them as tools or shelters." The ground under their feet was soft in some places and hard in others. Jake noticed that some areas had a different color. They were darker, almost black. When he looked closer, he saw they were burned. "Whatever lives here can make fire or acid," he told the others. "Watch where you step." They had walked about 100 yards when Pete suddenly stopped. "Contact, straight ahead," he whispered into his radio. "It is huge." The creature came out from behind a crystal tower like a nightmare made real. It stood 12 feet tall on 6 powerful legs. Its body was covered in hard plates that changed color like oil on water. The head was the worst part. It had a mouth full of sharp teeth like needles, and its eyes were not stupid animal eyes. They showed intelligence. Jake had seen many dangerous animals on different planets, but this was different. This creature was not just a predator. It was smart. It was thinking. The beast moved around them in a slow circle. Each time its feet touched the ground, the dirt sizzled and smoked. Whatever came from its body could burn through solid rock. "Nobody move," Lisa whispered. Her weapon was pointed at the creature. "Maybe it is just curious." The creature tilted its head and looked at them. It seemed to be studying them like Kevin studied his samples. Its eyes moved from one human to another. It was learning about them. Jake could see its muscles getting ready to move. The creature had made its decision. It was not just curious anymore. The attack came faster than lightning. 1 second the creature was 10 feet away. The next second its teeth were buried in Jake's left arm. The bite was perfect. The creature knew exactly where to put its teeth to inject the most poison. Jake expected to fall down. He expected burning pain as alien poison filled his blood. He had read about creatures like this on other worlds. Their poison could kill a man in seconds. Instead, he felt a small tingling feeling. It was like touching a weak electric wire. His arm felt a little warm and tingly. That was all. The creature let go and stepped back. It was waiting for something to happen. Its eyes were focused on Jake's face. It wanted to watch him die. Jake looked down at the 2 small holes in his arm. A little blood came out, but not much. He moved his fingers. They worked fine. He rolled his shoulders. "No problem." The creature made a sound like rocks grinding together. It seemed confused. Jake could tell it was asking itself why he was still standing. Jake felt good. Actually, he felt better than good. He felt strong and alert. His vision seemed sharper. His hearing was better. Whatever the creature had put in his blood was not killing him. It was making him stronger. He looked up at the massive predator that was still waiting for him to collapse. The creature's eyes were wide, with what looked like shock. Jake started to laugh. It was a small laugh at first, then it got bigger. He could not help himself. The whole situation was funny. The most dangerous creature on this planet had just used its best weapon on him. And all he felt was a little tingly. "Huh," Jake said, still smiling. Feels a bit tingly. The creature's mouth fell open. Its compound eyes got even wider. In all its millions of years of evolution, nothing like this had ever happened. Every living thing on its planet died from that bite. Every single one. Until now. Kevin was looking at his scanner with amazement. Jake, your body readings are going crazy. Whatever that thing put in you, it is very complex. It has proteins I have never seen. It has nerve poison that should have stopped your heart minutes ago. Jake examined the bite marks on his arm. They were already starting to heal. His human immune system was working faster than normal. I feel fine. Actually, I feel great. The creature began to walk back and forth. It was getting upset. It made more grinding sounds. The sounds seemed to mean it was frustrated and confused. It is trying to understand why you are not dead, Pete said. He was good at reading body language. Look at how it moves. It is confused and maybe scared. Lisa kept her weapon ready. Confused or not, we should get back to the ship. We do not know what else might be out here. But Jake was studying the creature with growing interest. The bite had done more than just fail to poison him. He could feel changes happening in his body. His vision was getting sharper. His reflexes were getting faster. The alien poison was not trying to kill him. It was making his already tough human body even tougher. The creature made its decision. It lifted its head and let out a roar that shook the crystal towers around them. The sound echoed across the valley. The answer came from every direction. More roars filled the air. Dozens of them. All around the valley, shapes began to move between the crystals. We have got company, Lisa said as more creatures appeared. They were all like the first one, but with small differences in size and color. The creatures formed a circle around the humans. But they were all looking at Jake. They seemed to be talking to each other in their grinding language. The sounds they made seemed angry and confused. Kevin's scanner kept beeping wildly. Jake, your body is processing that poison in ways that should not be possible. It is like your cells are learning from it and getting stronger. Jake felt a wave of energy flow through his body. Without thinking about it, he stepped forward. He walked right toward the biggest creature in the group. His team called out warnings, but he raised his hand to tell them to be quiet. All the creatures stopped making noise as Jake walked up to their leader. He stood at the base of the massive predator and looked up into its compound eyes. Then he did something that no living thing on this planet had ever done. After being bitten, he smiled. The reaction was immediate. All the creatures began to back away. Their aggressive poses changed to something that looked like respect or maybe fear. I think, Jake said quietly to his team, we need to have a longer talk with our new friends. A venom beast bit the human. He just laughed and said, feels a bit tingly, ## part 1. First contact gone wrong. The exploration vessel Starbound drifted through the amber atmosphere of Kepler 442c, its hull creaking under the pressure of the alien world's dense air. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the bridge's viewport, watching the crimson landscape roll beneath them like a sea of rust and shadow. Sir, we're picking up massive biosignatures down there, reported Lieutenant Amy Collins from her sensor station. Whatever's living on this planet, it's big and there's a lot of it. The planet had been flagged as potentially habitable, but the initial scans revealed something far more interesting than simple microbial life. Massive creatures roamed the surface, their movements creating seismic readings that registered even from orbit. Dr. Kevin Bradley, the mission's xenobiologist, practically vibrated with excitement. Commander, we have to get down there. These readings suggest complex ecosystems unlike anything we've encountered. Against standard protocol, Morrison approved a surface mission. The landing party consisted of Morrison himself, Dr. Bradley, Security Chief Lisa Grant, and Communications Officer Pete Johnson. They descended in a modified shuttle, landing in what appeared to be a valley between towering crystal formations. The moment they stepped onto the alien soil, they knew they were being watched. The very air seemed to pulse with predatory awareness. Dr. Bradley immediately began collecting samples while the others maintained a defensive perimeter. It was Johnson who first spotted the creature stalking them through the crystal maze. "Contact, 12 o'clock, he whispered into his cum. It's the size of a bus." The venom beast, as they would later classify it, emerged from behind a crystal spire like a nightmare-given flesh. Standing 12 feet tall on 6 powerful legs, its body was covered in chitinous plates that shifted color like oil on water. But it was the head that truly terrified. A massive jaw filled with needle-sharp teeth, and most unsettling of all, intelligence burning in its compound. Eyes. The creature circled them slowly, its movements fluid despite its size. Each footfall left smoking craters in the alien soil, suggesting some form of corrosive secretion. "Nobody move," Grant whispered, her weapon trained on the beast. "It might just be curious." The creature's head tilted, studying them with an almost academic interest. Then, without warning, it struck with lightning speed. Morrison barely had time to register the motion before pain exploded through his left arm. The beast's bite was surgical in its precision, injecting its venom through hollow fangs before releasing him and stepping back. Morrison stumbled, expecting to collapse, expecting the burning agony of alien toxins coursing through his system. Instead, he felt a slight tingling sensation, like a mild electric current running through his arm. He looked down at the puncture wounds, then up at the massive predator watching him with what could only be described as anticipation. The creature seemed to be waiting for something, probably for him to convulse and die. Morrison rolled his shoulders, flexed his fingers, and let out a short laugh. Feels a bit tingly." The venom beast's compound eyes widened in what appeared to be shock. Part 2. The hunter becomes the hunted. The creature that had expected to watch its prey writhe in agony instead found itself face to face with a being that seemed entirely unaffected by venom that could drop a native predator in seconds. Dr. Bradley's scanner was going wild. "Jake, your readings are off the charts. Whatever that thing injected into you, it's highly complex. Proteins I've never seen before, neurotoxins that should have shut down your nervous system minutes ago." Morrison examined the bite marks on his arm. They were already beginning to close, his human immune system adapting with remarkable speed. "I feel fine. Actually, I feel pretty good." The venom beast began to pace, its movements becoming more agitated. It made a sound like grinding stone mixed with a hiss that seemed to communicate frustration. "It's trying to understand why you're not dying," Johnson observed, his communications background giving him insight into nonverbal behavior. "Look at its posture. It's confused, maybe even concerned." Grant kept her weapon ready. "Concerned or not, we should get back to the ship. We don't know what else might be out here." But Morrison was studying the creature with growing fascination. The bite had done more than just fail to poison him. He could feel something changing in his system. His vision seemed sharper, his reflexes quicker. The alien venom, instead of killing him, appeared to be enhancing his already formidable human adaptability. The venom beast made its decision. With a roar that shook the crystal formations around them, it called out across the valley. The response was immediate and terrifying. Answering calls echoed from every direction. "We've got company," Grant announced unnecessarily as shapes began emerging from between the crystals. Dozens of them, all similar to their first contact, but showing subtle variations in size and coloration. The creatures formed a loose circle around the humans, but their attention was focused entirely on Morrison. They seemed to be communicating in their grinding, hissing language, and the tone suggested heated debate. Dr. Bradley's scanner continued its frantic beeping. "Jake, your body is processing that venom in ways that shouldn't be possible. It's like your cells are reverse engineering it, learning from it." Morrison felt a surge of energy course through him. Without thinking, he stepped forward, directly toward the largest of the assembled beasts. His team called out warnings, but he raised his hand to silence them. The creatures fell silent as Morrison approached their apparent leader, standing at the base of the massive predator. He looked up into its compound eyes and did something that no being on this planet had ever done after being bitten by a venom beast. He smiled. The reaction was immediate. The creatures began backing away, their aggressive postures shifting to something that looked remarkably like respect, or perhaps fear. "I think," Morrison said quietly to his team, "we need to have a longer conversation with our new friends." Part 3. Understanding the Apex. The standoff in the Crystal Valley stretched for hours. The venom beasts maintained their circle, but their behavior had shifted from predatory to something Morrison could only describe as reverent curiosity. Dr. Bradley worked frantically with his equipment, analyzing Morrison's blood samples and the residual venom. "Jake, this is incredible. The venom contains what appears to be a form of biological nanotechnology. It's designed to rewrite cellular structure, but instead of killing you, your human adaptability is incorporating it." Morrison could feel the changes accelerating. His senses had become razor-sharp, his strength noticeably increased. More importantly, he was beginning to understand the creature's communications. Their grinding, hissing language was starting to make sense, as if the venom was providing a form of biological translation matrix. The largest beast, which Morrison had mentally dubbed Prime, stepped forward and began a complex series of sounds. To the amazement of his team, Morrison responded in kind, his human vocal cords somehow managing to approximate the alien language. "What are you saying to it?" Grant asked, her weapon still ready but lowered. "It's not an it," Morrison replied. "His name translates roughly to First Hunter. He's asking how I survived the sacred bite." The conversation that followed would redefine humanity's understanding of intelligence and evolution. Through painstaking translation, Morrison learned that the venom beasts were not merely predators, but the apex species of a planet-wide ecosystem based on biological adaptation and survival of the fittest. The sacred bite was their ultimate test. A venom so potent and complex that it had never failed to kill. Every creature on their world, from the smallest scavenger to the mightiest predator, fell to it within minutes. It was their proof of absolute dominance. Until now, First Hunter explained that their species had ruled this world for millions of years, their venom evolving to counter every possible biological defense. They had tested it on every form of life they encountered, and nothing had ever survived. "He says we're the first beings from beyond their world," Morrison translated. "They want to understand how human biology could possibly counter their ultimate weapon." Dr. Bradley was practically bouncing with excitement. "Jake, don't you see what this means? Human adaptability isn't just impressive by our standards. It's literally unprecedented in their experience. We've just encountered a species that has never met anything it couldn't kill, and you laughed off their best shot." The implications were staggering. First Hunter went on to explain that their species had long believed they would eventually encounter others from the stars, and they had prepared their sacred bite as the ultimate test. They had expected to prove their superiority over any spacefaring race. Instead, they had discovered something that challenged their fundamental understanding of biology and survival. Johnson, monitoring communications, suddenly tensed. "Commander, I'm picking up signals from orbit. Multiple ships, non-human design, big ones." The revelation hit them like a thunderbolt. First Hunter's grinding response confirmed their worst fears. The venom beasts had not been alone in expecting visitors from the stars. Part 4. The real test. The ships that descended through Kepler 442c's atmosphere were unlike anything in human databases. Sleek, organic-looking V